Welcome to the Long Run with Joel and Chrissy. I'm Joel, flying solo today, and this is going to be the second edition of my road to the Chicago Marathon. I am training for the Chicago Marathon coming up on October the 7th and October the 9th, actually. My training plan started about 3 weeks ago. I'm now in week 4, and so I'm kind of getting into some routines and getting my plan really kind of stabilized and starting to kind of hit those running grooves again since the last marathon back in February. So I've been asked by people before, what does it really take to run a marathon? What do you really need to do? And there are a lot of things that you can do. There are a lot of things that I could tell you, hey, you need to do this. You need to have good shoes. You need to have good running gear. You need to have a lot of different things. Nothing new on race day, and make sure you're fueling correctly. But what really, if you really break it down to a good training block, what do you really need in order to train for a marathon? Well, as we talk about my current training, I want to just throw in 3 things that you really need, or you really need to do to have a really good training plan. Now, 2 of these are probably going to sound kind of the same. You can say, well, those are kind of the same. Well, they are kind of the same, but they're a little bit different. I'm going to tell you why. All right, so the first thing is this. The first thing is that you need to have a plan. You can't wake up on race day and go run a marathon. You just can't. I mean, you can, but the very first guy who did that was the very first guy who ran the distance, and he died at the very end of it. So don't be that guy. Be the person that has a plan for your marathon, for your race, whatever it is. Have a plan for it, train for it, and know where you want to go. Know where you are with your current fitness level, and then know where you want to go and where you want to be at the end of your training block. So have a plan. Now, for me, I do have a plan, and we talked about it some in the last video. I'm kind of incorporating 2 plans, but right now I'm sticking with just the one. I'll incorporate some of the others as I kind of really get more into the flow of running. But there was a little training plan on my, I use the Nike Run Club app to track my runs. And there was for Chicago, they partner with the Nike Run Club app, and they have put a training plan on there for the Chicago Marathon on the Chicago Marathon website. And so I downloaded it and I looked at it. I said, this might be kind of fun to do. But as I was looking at it, the longest mileage in the whole training plan was about 18 miles. Now, I could probably do a marathon and only have my longest run be 18 miles, but for me, I don't want to risk that. And so I'm going back to some of my old training, some tried and true things that have really stuck well with me. I'm kind of molding the 2 together. And so I'll do some of the Nike Plus, the Nike Run Club stuff, and I'll do some of my own stuff that I've already done in the past. But I need at least 2 runs of at least 20 miles. And this plan that I'm doing now is going to have a 3rd run of 20 miles. I know if I can get to 20, I can cover that last 6.2. And I know I can get to 20 because I've done it before. And so, but my point here is that you need to have a plan. Know where you're going. Know where your current fitness level is, and develop your plan, or help someone help you develop a plan, or find a plan online that meets your needs, that suits who you are and your goals and what you want to do with your race and in your race. So make sure you have a plan. Number 2 is anticipate difficulties. Now, your plan for a marathon is probably going to be at least 18 weeks. You need to plan at least 18 weeks out for a marathon. Now, if you're doing a half marathon, you could probably cut that down to 12. If you're doing a 5K, you might cut that down to maybe 10 weeks. But make sure you build in enough time for that. It's going to be at least 18 weeks for a marathon. So over 18 weeks, you can expect that you're going to have some difficulties along the way. And so I've, trained for marathons. I work a more than full-time job. We have two YouTube channels that we're that we're keeping up with. We like to go to theme parks and things that we like to really do around Orlando. And so I understand that there are going to be times where I'm going to have difficulty getting up and getting out in the mornings, because I like to go early before work or before we do anything else during the day. I like to go out and get my runs in. I'm usually out the door at the latest about 5 or 5:30 each morning that I do run. But I know there are going to be some times when I can't do that. And so, because even if I'm going into work at 7 o'clock a.m., my restaurant opens at 6:30 and my opener's there at 5:45. And sometimes there are difficulties at work that I have to go take care of, and I miss my run that day. Or, there are some days you just don't want to get up and get out of bed. We all have those difficulties. We all have those struggles. And so there was a day in week 2 of my training that I missed a 5-mile pace run. And on a Wednesday, it was the middle of the week, and I missed the 5-mile pace run. And so what I decided to do was I had a 10-mile run coming up on Sunday. And so what I decided to do was, instead of making up that run on Friday, which is supposed to be my rest day, I decided to take my long run on Sunday, which was 10 miles. And I ran the first 5 miles at marathon pace, and then I slowed down for the last 5 miles. And so in anticipating difficulties, when you know you're going to have difficulties coming up, then you can go ahead and work in your mind what you want to do with those difficulties and how you're going to work around those difficulties. And for me, for that day was, I'm going to take this 5-mile pace run, I'm going to add it in and situate my run on Sunday so that I do that run while I'm actually doing my long run for the week. So anticipate difficulty, because they will come along. They will try to trip up your plan and try to make you get off. Try to make you get off your plan, but don't allow it to do that. Anticipate those difficulties, work out a plan for what you're going to do when those difficulties come, and then work your plan. And then number 3 is be flexible. And I know what you're thinking, those are kind of the same. Well, they kind of work off of each other. So if you're anticipating difficulties, then you know you're going to have to be flexible in your training plan. And so maybe there are some days that you can't do your pace run on Saturday, or you can't do a longish run on Wednesday in the middle of the week, or you have something coming up on a Thursday and you need to move that particular run to Friday, which is supposed to be your normal rest day. Be flexible with your running and with your plan, because when those difficulties arise, you may need to shift some things around. When things come up, you're going to need to shift some things around. So always be flexible. A plan is a running plan is like a budget. It's something. It's a guide that you go by, but there's things that you can do to be flexible in that plan to make it work for you. Even a plan that you develop for yourself or someone develops for you may not totally fit you over a span of 18 weeks. And you may have to kind of move some things around to make it work for your schedule and your time and for what you like to do in life. So be flexible about those things. Be flexible about your plan. Don't be very rigid with it, but make sure you're getting in the quality runs each week so that you're in tip-top shape when it comes marathon time. So those are your 3 tips. Have a plan, anticipate difficulties, and be flexible. Now, drop me a comment below if you got a training plan going on right now. What are some more tips that you can do as you're training for a marathon or a half marathon or a 10K or a 5K? Drop me some tips below and let me know what your tips are as you plan for these races. I'd love to hear those. And what races do you have coming up? If you have some races, or if you're whatever exercises that you're doing, drop those comments below. Let me know what you're doing or what you plan to do as the year goes on. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notifications bell for updates when we upload new videos on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, sometimes on the weekend, sometimes in between. Just kind of never know when we're going to drop one in there. But with that said, that's going to do it today for the Long Run with Joel and Chrissy. I'm Joel, flying solo today. And don't forget the long run. Give yourself a little grace.